Florida is about to do something that no other state in America has ever attempted. They want to eliminate property taxes completely for homeowners who live in their primary residence. Now, I know that sounds almost too good to be true, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. Some of what was proposed earlier this year stalled out, but something significant did just pass the Florida legislature 2 days ago, and all of it is now heading to Florida voters this November. In this video, I'm going to cut through every bit of the noise. We're going to talk about what was proposed, what actually passed, and with what exact vote counts, what died, what it means for your property tax bill, and what it means for Tampa home values, and what you should be doing right now, whether you're a buyer, seller, or a homeowner sitting tight. This is going to be one of the most important videos I've made this year. So grab a cup of coffee because we have a lot to cover. But before we get into all of it, real quick, if you're a homeowner here in the Tampa Bay area and you're wondering what all of this reform talk means for your specific home value, reach out. I get questions about this every day, and I genuinely love these conversations. I'm going to put my contact information in the comments below. I would love to speak with you. No pressure, no obligation, just a really clear snapshot of where you stand right now in this market. All right, let's dive into this. Why is this happening? What's the real story behind this tax reform? Well, to understand where Florida is going with property taxes, you have to understand the pressure that built up to get here, because this doesn't happen overnight. Here's the story. For the last several years, Florida has been one of the fastest growing states in the country. People have flooded here from New York, California, Illinois, escaping high taxes, high cost of living, political climates they didn't want to be in, and Tampa has been one of the hottest landing spots. That population surge created massive demand for housing. Prices surged. In some Tampa Bay neighborhoods, we even saw 40, 50, 60% appreciation in just a couple years. Here's the catch. Property taxes in Florida are based on the assessed value of your home. So when your home value skyrockets, even if you've been living there for 20 years, even if your income didn't change, your tax bill can change significantly. Florida does have some protections built in. The current homestead exemption knocks a flat $50,000 off your assessed value if the home is your primary residence, and the Save Our Homes amendment caps how much your assessed value can increase each year at 3%, but only after you've owned the home and homesteaded the property. Here's a number that will help you understand why lawmakers felt they had to act. In 2024, Florida's local governments collected $55 billion in property tax revenue statewide. $55 billion. And according to Governor DeSantis, that number has nearly doubled in just 7 years, from 32 billion to over 60 billion, and is projected to hit 83 billion by 2032. Now, most of you know Florida has no state income tax, which is a huge reason why people move here, but it means counties, cities, and school districts rely heavily on property taxes for nearly everything: roads, schools, fire stations, sheriff's department, parks, libraries, all of it. So when homeowners started pushing back on rising tax bills, and when a governor with a clear political agenda decided to make this his signature issue, the pressure built into one of the biggest policy debates Florida has seen in decades. What was actually proposed? What's the full picture? Here's where things get interesting and a little bit complicated, because there wasn't just one proposal, there were many. Back in October 2025, Florida House Speaker Daniel Perez released a memo outlining 7 different constitutional amendment proposals. His position was give voters the options and let them decide. Everything from capping millage rates to raising exemptions to full elimination of non-school homestead property taxes. We have a better understanding. Here's the lineup of the key proposals that came out of that process. HJR 201, full immediate elimination of all non-school property taxes on homesteads. HJR 203, a phased 10-year elimination. The homestead exemption increases by $100,000 every single year starting in 2027, reaching full elimination of non-school taxes by 2037. HJR 205, elimination of non-school homestead taxes specifically for homeowners over age 65. And HJR 207, a new exemption equal to 25% of the home's assessed value. HJR 209, a homestead exemption for property owners who carry property insurance, specifically targeting the insurance crisis piece. So that's the range of ideas that were on the table. And then separately, Governor DeSantis came in with his own branded proposal, Save Our Homes from Excessive Property Taxes. Here's how the governor's plan works. Starting in 2027, the current 50,000 homestead exemption jumps to 150. In 2028, it goes to 250, and from there, further increases are tied to the consumer price index with the stated goal of full elimination through future legislation. So a key detail to that is the school district taxes are carved out. This increased exemption does not apply to school levies. School taxes stay at current 25,000 exemption. So think about what that number means of real money. If your Tampa house is assessed at 400,000 and you have a homestead, your taxable value right now is 350,000. By 2028, under this plan, that taxable value drops to 150,000. Depending on your county's millage rate, that could mean anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 back in your pocket every single year. There's also a non-homestead piece for investment properties, rentals, and commercial buildings. The annual assessment increase cap drops from 10% per year to 5%. So those property owners aren't suddenly absorbing the full tax burden that homeowners are shedding. All right, let's talk about the honest timeline. What passed, what died, and where we are right now. All right, this is the most important segment in this entire video. I'm going to give you the honest, no spin timeline with exact dates and vote counts because there has been so much confusion about this and you deserve the real picture. During the regular 2026 legislation session, which ran from January through March 13th, the Florida House passed HJR 203, the phased 10-year elimination plan, by a vote of 80 to 30. That was a strong bipartisan-ish vote, but it died in the Senate Appropriations Committee. The Senate never scheduled a hearing. Session ended on March 13th without any property tax reform reaching the ballot. A special session was planned for April 20th, then pushed to April 28th. Then property tax reform was pulled off the agenda entirely. Governor DeSantis called another special session specifically for the week of June 1st through the 3rd, dedicated to property tax reform. Both the House and the Senate filed companion bills, HJR 1-5F in the House and HJR 2-F in the Senate. These bills were amended in the community to carve out school district taxes, meaning the increased exemption only applies to county, city, and special tax district levies, not school board taxes. That amendment was critical because before it was added, local governments were projected to lose $8.4 billion in revenue per year. Firefighters and first responders were warning of up to 25% budget cuts. And this is the most current news. On June 2nd, literally yesterday, as I'm recording this, the Florida legislature passed HJR 1-F. The House voted 75 to 26. The Senate voted 30 to 9. The Senate version, SJR 2F, was laid on the table and deferred to the House version. So what does that mean in plain English? The legislature has approved putting this constitutional amendment on the November 2026 ballot. Florida voters will now decide, and to pass, it needs 60% approval, not a simple majority, 60%. What does this mean for your tax bill today? Nothing has changed. I want to be crystal clear. No property tax reductions are in effect right now. You can budget and buy or sell based on current tax rates, but November is not far away and you need to understand what's coming. What's the other side of this? What critics are warning? So I'd be doing you a real disservice if I only gave you one side of this. There are legitimate concerns about what happens if property taxes are dramatically reduced, and you deserve to hear them. The core concern is local government revenue. Florida's counties, cities, and school districts run almost entirely on property tax money. It's not a small piece. It is the primary revenue source. In Tampa Bay, specifically, an analysis by the Florida Policy Institute found that eliminating property taxes would have cost Hillsborough and Pinellas counties a combined $2.3 billion in 2025 alone. That's roads, fire stations, parks, libraries, senior services. Statewide property taxes make up about 18% of county budgets, 17% of municipal budgets, and a major portion of school district funding, even with the school carve-out in the current proposal. Critics, including some Democrats and fiscal watchdogs, warned this could bankrupt local governments. Firefighters warned of up to 25% service cuts before the school carve-out was added, and local officials have said residents could eventually face charges for things that are currently free, like using public parks. Now, the proposal does have guardrails. Local governments are prohibited from reducing funding for law enforcement, fire service, and emergency medical services below their 2024 or 2025 levels. And there's a state trust fund component in the governor's original version to help backfill core local services. Details on that are still to be determined. Some economics also note that if homeowners pay less, the burden could shift toward renters and businesses. Landlords often pass through 50 to 85% of their property tax costs in higher rents, so the renters might not see the relief they're hoping for. These are real conversations. I'm not here to tell you how to vote. My job is to make sure you walk into November with the full picture, and now you have it. So what does this mean for the Tampa Bay real estate market? All right, let's bring this home. What does this all actually mean for the Tampa Bay real estate market? Here's the core dynamic. When a buyer calculates what they can afford, they're looking at four things: mortgage payment, insurance, HOA fees, and property taxes. These four numbers together determine their monthly cost of ownership. So if the property tax piece shrinks dramatically, say your bill drops by $3,000 to $5,000 a year, that's $250 to $400 a month freed up. That's not nothing. Real estate professionals across Florida are pointing out that this could meaningfully increase buyer purchasing power, particularly in the $400,000 to $700,000 range, which is exactly the move-up market that Tampa Bay buyers are shopping in. For sellers, this is actually really interesting. More buyer purchasing power generally means more competition for homes, which tends to support or push up prices. And here's another angle that doesn't get discussed enough: the lock-in effect. A big reason Tampa homeowners haven't been moving over the last couple of years is they're sitting on 3 or 4% mortgage rates, and they don't want to give that up. But if property taxes also drop significantly, the total monthly cost of ownership on a new home at today's higher interest rates becomes much more manageable. That could actually unlock some sellers who've been frozen, and we could see more inventory come to the market as a result. One important note for people thinking about moving to Tampa from out of state: there's a residency requirement built into the proposal. If you establish Florida residency after January 1st, 2027, you need to maintain that Florida residency for up to 5 years before receiving the full increased homestead exemption. So the people who benefit most are the Floridians who are already here and those who get here before the end of the year. All right, so enough of the big picture. Let's get practical. Here is what you should actually be doing based on your situation. If you're a current homeowner, the single most important thing you can do right now is confirm that your homestead exemption is filed and is active. Check your county property appraiser's website. It takes 5 minutes. To qualify for the new $150,000 exemption in 2027, the proposal requires you to own your primary residence with homestead in place by the end of 2026. Don't let an administrative gap cost you thousands of dollars. Also worth knowing, Amendment 5, which Florida voters already approved in 2024, is already in effect. It adds an annual inflation adjustment to the second to your homestead exemption so now that second 25,000 grows with the consumer price index. Small but real. Make sure your county appraiser has you on the right track. If you're a buyer, please do not budget based on future tax savings that haven't happened yet. I'm going to say that slowly. Calculate your affordability using today's tax rates. If the reforms pass in November and the savings kick in by 2027, that is a wonderful bonus. But don't buy a home that only works financially if property taxes go away. That is not a plan, that is a gamble. That said, if you purchase your primary residence in Tampa before the end of 2026 and file homestead exemption, you'd be in a position to ride that relief from the inside. You'd own before the residency clock starts for newcomers, which is a real advantage. If you're a seller, this is a nuanced conversation whether to list now, wait until late 2026, or wait until post-November. Depends on your specific property, your equity position, your neighborhood, and your timeline. That's not a one-size-all-fits YouTube answer. That's a one-on-one conversation. If you're relocating to Florida from out of state, as I mentioned, getting here and filing homestead before January 2027 means you avoid the 5-year wait. That's a real deadline worth paying attention to if you've been on the fence about timing your move. And as always, make sure you understand the Florida specific nuances. CDDs, insurance, sinkholes before you close. That's exactly what I help my clients navigate every day. And if you want more information on that, be sure to check out this video here. Let me give you your quick hit summary before we wrap this up. Number 1, Florida property tax revenue hit $55 billion in 2024, and rising home values have pushed homeowners' bills up significantly for years. That pressure led to one of the biggest reform debates in state history. 2, Governor DeSantis' proposal HJR 1-F passed the Florida legislation on June 2nd. House vote 75-26 and Senate 30-9. It is now officially on the November 2026 ballot, and it needs 60% voter approval to become law. Number 3, if it passes, homestead exemptions go to $150 in 2027, $250 in 2028, and it does not affect the school taxes. And number 4, nothing has changed yet for our current tax bill. Plan and buy based on today's rates. That is important. And number 5, if you own a home in Tampa, confirm your homestead exemption is active before December 31st, 2026. This is your most important action item of this video. And if you need help with that, just reach out. And 6, if you're relocating, January 1st date matters. Get here, file homestead before then to avoid the 5-year residency wait for the full exemption. And 7, November is coming. Stay informed, understand what you're voting on. Make a decision that's right for your family, not just your tax bill. If you have any questions about how any of this touches your specific situation, whether your home value, whether now is the right time to sell, what real buying power looks like in this market, reach out. Text me, email me, click the link in the description. I love these conversations and I'm here for them. And before we go, drop a comment below. Are you a current Tampa Bay homeowner, a buyer in the Tampa market right now, or someone thinking about relocating to Florida? I want to know who's watching this, and I read every comment. If this video helped you understand what's happening, hit that button. It helps more Tampa Bay homeowners find this information when they need it. And subscribe so you're here when I break down November ballot results and what they mean for 2027 market. I'm Tammy Bilder with eXp Realty, and I'll see you on the next video.